Hello and welcome back to Brimwood Farm. I'm Jeff and this is a new farm that I'm starting. I've been here for 2 years, 37 acres, going to see how it all goes. It's December and today is a kind of two socks kind of day, if you know what I mean. It's not actually that cold, but there's a bit of a bite in the air. And I've got a load of polytunnel work to do, but before, for those of you that have been following the channel for ages and know the Eve saga, I haven't got good news, don't worry. There's no babies. But we'll just check in on her because she is the longest pregnant girl I've ever known. Aren't you? You're still pregnant. Still pregnant. I know. I should say I've had quite a lot of people contacting me saying they're really worried about her. How is she pregnant for this long? She ran with the billy, so I don't know when the exact due date is. All I know is the last possible due date is the 14th of December, because after that time, 5 months before, she wasn't with the billy. So she's fine, don't worry about her. I've seen the baby, or babies, moving around inside her. She's just obviously got pregnant a lot later than I thought she did. So we're definitely in the build-up. What is it? We're the third today, so we've got 11 days possibly to go. Now I warn you that the market garden and flower farm is a slight embarrassment to me because it really is so weedy. The flower farm not so much, but the market garden is just horrendous. I just haven't got round to weeding, and you can see I mean look at the state of it. This is supposed to be farm, and we've still got some carrots in here, we've still got some radish and some turnips. And then this is, I mean, just a weed heaven. However, a lot of weed seed did get blown in this summer. And I'm kind of glad in some ways that I didn't weed it out and I didn't cover it in tarp, because it means that the warm autumn we have has allowed all those weeds to germinate. So now what I'm hoping to do is cover it all in plastic, or bit by bit, and then smother off those weeds, because if you allow the weed seeds to fall into the soil and then you cover it in plastic immediately, when you take off the plastic, it looks lovely, but then all those weed seeds get the daylight and they germinate. So I'm hoping that this way, everything will have germinated and then I'll kill it. So we might be off to a slightly better start for next year, perhaps. But the polytunnel is what we need to do some work in. There's quite a bit going on in here. So let's go on with it. Now I still actually have some tomatoes, as you can see, but those vines have got caught by the frost, so they need taking off. I'm kind of leaving these up at the moment because these are they're gradually ripening, so I'm not keen to completely strip these. The tomato vines this side, however, they've dropped all of their tomatoes on the floor, so they all need completely stripping back. There are quite a lot of green tomatoes still that have fallen off the plant. And could I use these? Yes. Do I have the time or the inclination? No. Sometimes you've just got to say, I haven't got enough time for that, I'll try it next year. I also have a load of lettuce transplants that you can see here to go in. I have already started putting some in, so I've got a row here, and then I've got a little patch here, and then a little patch over here, so I've kind of been filling in gaps. Now last year, if you remember, I filled this polytunnel with lettuces, and then the voles came, and the voles ate through every single stem. However, I put a little nest down here of wool, and one of the feral cats sleeps down there. And he seems to be keeping the rodent problem at bay. Now, I still have a very uneasy sort of relationship with having a wildlife farm and having cats, because we all know that cats destroy lots of wildlife. And actually, here's a picture of my one-eyed Bengal cat Captain with a vole the other day, and even with this picture I'm like, oh yay, you caught a vole, and then I'm also like, oh no, the poor vole. So I do have a kind of an uneasy relationship with that. However, earlier this year in this lambing, when I was looking on the lambing cameras and there was like 15 to 20 rats running around in the lambing barn, it was not nice. And also I need to make a living from the farm, and the living from the farm enables me to be on the farm and promote it for wildlife. So to some extent, I do need the rodents sorted out. I don't want to put down poison because that's horrendous and it goes into all sorts of other wildlife and it moves up the food chain. I don't want to use snap traps and humane traps because they don't really work very well. So really the only other option is cats, and they have done a good job. And I haven't, as I say, I've got the 37 acres. I haven't seen a huge decline in birds. I'm sure they've caught some birds. I'm sure they've raided some nests. But there's still loads of wildlife here. So I think that I'm kind of trying to walk that very careful, fine line between having a farm for wildlife and with conservation and doing the rewilding things, but also having the cats to make sure the rodents and pests don't affect my animals and my plants. And so far in here, they haven't, because they haven't eaten any of the lettuces at all, which means they haven't been in here. Now, something else I want to try out in this polytunnel this year is keeping the peppers alive. Because if you didn't know, peppers are actually perennial plants when they're given the chance. And I've been seeing some stuff online where you can snip them down basically to stumps and try and save them, and then they'll start sprouting in the warm weather, and then you get a bumper early crop. And I have a line of peppers along here and then another line along here. So I want to try and salvage some of them. You can see I've actually still got some fruits growing, and I'm going to harvest these for the last market of the year next week. And the frost has come in and got a little bit of it. But the frost isn't the major problem in the polytunnel with the peppers. It's actually the humidity, because it's cold now, so it doesn't dry out, and so you start to get mold. And you can see on these, they've started to go moldy, and here as well. So they need to be sort of cut back, and we're going to see if we can make some survive the winter season. And I'm fairly sure this is all you do. So you just kind of take off the majority of the leaf growth, because you're trying to put it into a bit of dormancy. You want to obviously protect the roots, because the roots are what need to survive the winter. And then if it puts out too much growth during the winter and you're worried about it shooting off, just keep it cut back. And then when the warm weather starts and it really starts to bud out, hopefully you'll get bushy plants that start to set fruit really early in the season. I've never done this before, so I don't know if it works. If you have tried it, then let me know in the comments. It could be a real game changer for those of us that are growing stuff for market, because if you can bring peppers, British grown peppers, to market a lot earlier than maybe some of your competitors, it could be great. And also maybe extra harvest as well, which is also great. So fingers crossed this might work. The other thing that I have in here are my ranunculus and my anemones. So here are the trays of ranunculus. You can see they've come up really nicely. They've been a bit haphazard. This tray is probably the best, but you can see here we've got some here and then a few here, but a lot of this is just weed. And then the anemones are coming through. And this is a testament to the fact that there aren't any mice or voles in the greenhouse, is that I can put trays of anemones on the floor without them getting absolutely munched through. So I have sown the trays of anemones and ranunculus in colours, and the idea is that I'm going to put half of a tray. So here is one tray. I can't remember the colour because it's blown away, but half of this tray will go in the polytunnel and half will go outside. And I'm doing that in the hopes that I can force some blooms on early in the polytunnel, and then as the weather warms up, the polytunnel heats up and kills off the ranunculus in here. The ones outside will just be getting going. So I'm hoping to kind of extend the ranunculus and anemone season. The ones in the garden actually that I missed pulling up last year are actually starting to come up on their own now. So I'm quite excited to see how they do as ones that were planted last year, to see if we get some continuation of flowers year on year on year, rather than having to buy new corms and tubers every single season. And then the other things I've got growing in here are, I've still got some parsley. This I actually put in this time last year, and I've just been cutting it and cutting it and cutting it for markets and to sell down on the farm gate. And you can see it's still thriving. And in fact, I use the flowers in bouquets, and it looks really, really pretty and gives a nice smell. Next to I've got a few kale. I've got lots of kale plants outside, but I did bring a few kale plants inside. You can see, however, I have got mealy aphid on them, which is kind of annoying. So I need to kind of come through, I think, and spray these with some fairy liquid, or pinch them out, or keep squashing them, because I didn't do it in time and it got onto a few of my greens in this bed. So I've got, I can't remember what it is. I think this is a mustard, and then I think this is just like a Mizunari type thing. But you can see it's got in here, and actually looking back, it's got in here as well. And this also got attacked by, I think it was grasshoppers or maybe flea beetles. They seem to have died now, and the new growth that I'm getting through is fresh and it hasn't got holes in it. So I'm hoping that I can pick some of that and it will last all winter, and then come January, February, I can be selling lettuces and some mixed greens from this polytunnel. Oh, and also I popped a few chard in amongst the peppers, which I've obviously now pruned all back. I've got a few little chard plants, just because outside the cold, and they were older plants, they were getting a little bit of rust on the leaves, and then it looks like you have a nice bountiful crop, and you then go to pick, and you haven't. So I've put a few in here too. So I'm pretty happy. It's only the second year with the polytunnel. It's the second winter with the polytunnel. Last year was a complete failure because of that vole problem. This year I could have done better. I could have planted more in here, but I feel like there is stuff. At least there's stuff in here to keep it going through the winter, and then hopefully get really, really going in the spring, start all of those seeds, and have a great season in 2023. And if you want to check out that video where voles came in and ate everything, you can check it out here.